Hello and welcome to our virtual career expo. We are very excited to be hosting for the first year. We want to thank you for joining us this afternoon. My name is Katie Zeiger. I'm the assistant director at Herndon Career Center in Southland Caps, and I'm going to be your facilitator for this session. This event has been organized in partnership with Lee Summit Economic Development Council, and we are, like I said, in our first year of doing this and excited to see where it can grow. We really wanted to take a look at the career of the trades industries and really start looking and diving in a little bit deeper. This session is going to focus primarily on the automotive and diesel industry. And so I will introduce our panel. We've got John Coleman, who's owner of Coleman Equipment. Teddy Dixon with us who's the Director of Training and Development with Custom Trucks One Source. And Darren Potter with Fleet Operations and City of Lee Summit. And so if you guys, as we go through our questions, if you have any live questions that you want to ask, there is a Q&A panel at the bottom, or Q&A box at the bottom, that you can type your question in, and we will do our best to get to each of our questions live session as well. So with that, we will go ahead and get started. And in that, I just wanted to kind of go around at the table real quick, and if you can tell me a little bit, just in introducing yourself, your name, your title, your company, and what you guys do. John, we'll start with you.
John Coleman, one of the owners of Coleman Equipment. We have a location here in Lee Summit, also in Bonner Springs and Smithville. We sell compact construction equipment and tractors and mowers, and serve some of the light construction industry. And we always struggle to hire good technicians. They're either going to work on diesel engines or small gas engines.
Okay, Teddy, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, my name is Teddy Dixon. I'm the Director of Training and Development for Custom Truck One Source. So we manufacture vehicles we buy Peterbilt, Freightliner, different chassis, and we put dump trucks or cranes or forestry, several different types of utility vehicles, manufactured from the ground up, and then we service them and we rent them. And we've got about 800 employees here in Kansas City, our Kansas City location. Then we have about another 1,000 spread out across North America.
Okay, thank you. And Darren?
I am the fleet maintenance supervisor for the City of Lee Summit. So we maintain everything from the PD cars to the fire department to the snow plows to pretty much everything. You see them out there mowing grass, we maintain that too. So I have a wide variety of technicians that do different things. So we've got a fleet of about 450 vehicles here in the city that we maintain.
All right, thank you guys. So it sounds like you guys are working on a lot of different spectrums. And so one thing I wanted to ask a little bit about, tell us, within the automotive diesel industry and what you guys do, how does it relate to careers in the overall economy on the different levels? Darren, you want to go ahead and start?
Well, I mean, we as technicians or fleet maintenance technicians, we maintain the equipment to maintain the different departments within the city. So we help support the infrastructure within the city as far as getting the roads built, getting the roads inspected, buildings built and inspected. So we feel we're a very vital part of the city. We keep them rolling.
Absolutely. John?
Very similar to what Darren said, that we help keep a lot of businesses running their equipment. So we've got a lot of small construction that happens around the city. These could be small contractors, concrete or utilities, any sort of building or equipment that works in the ground. As well as a lot of the mowing crews and stuff like that you see out in neighborhoods, pulling trailers, and so part of our tech's vital role is to keep keep that equipment up and running for a lot of those businesses around the city.
Absolutely. Teddy, anything to add?
Yeah, sure. So if you think about this, every time you drive somewhere, every time you turn on your water, every time you turn on your light, one of our industry is involved in keeping all of those things running. Darren mentioned the infrastructure, and that's a huge thing. We are in the business of keeping the infrastructure of our country moving forward, keeping people fed and watered and safe. And so there's a lot of opportunities that people probably don't consider.
Absolutely. And that concept is so big. Just when you're thinking about that, the overall infrastructure. How, as a high school student, did you guys really start thinking about this is the career I want to do? At what point did you say this is how I want to be? You know, this is how I want to make an impact. And what made you choose your career path? John, you want to start?
Well, my career path is this is my family's business, so I grew up around it all my life. So I started sweeping the floors and dusting shelves, and have kind of worked in almost every position in our business. Technician is one that I actually haven't worked on, even though I've assembled some things from time to time. But as far as high school students probably getting into a career like this, I kind of talk about anybody that enjoys working with their hands, people that like to be hands-on with something as opposed to maybe inside a book or on a computer all the time. People that want to be mobile and up on their feet, and if they've got a knowledge for how or an interest in how things work, how things are put together, then this might be a career for them. If they've shown any interest in how anything is put together, this might be a good place for them to be looking.
Okay, Teddy, how did you know that this was an industry you wanted to be in? Did you have past skills or experience just working in a shop or tinkering?
So I do. I started out, my family was in the asphalt paving business. So I was, I grew up doing that. I actually did that until I was about 30 when I started with Harley-Davidson Motor Company, and I worked up there for 17 years, and they paid for my bachelor's and my master, a whole bunch of education. They paid for a lot of education for me. So I moved up progressively through Harley. And then when they announced the plant was closing, then I was recruited by Custom Truck, One Source. And so I already had the Class A CDL, had some knowledge of big trucks and stuff, but really training and development is my expertise. And so I do a lot of leadership development stuff. So I didn't really know I was going to be in this industry, and I would suggest that you follow things that you're interested in. I think John put it real good. If you're good with your hands, if you're inquisitive, want to know if you like to take stuff apart and put it back together, there's lots of different reasons that you would go into this industry. But one thing that people don't think about is we're not just talking about mechanics or drivers. There's a lot that goes into the industry that we're in. I'm an HR guy. There's accountants. There's a lot of different paths that you can take. So I would suggest that study things, find something that you're interested in, and follow that. You've probably heard the cliche saying that if you do something you love, you never work a day in your life, and that's kind of goofy. But man, if you can really find something that you're passionate about and that you enjoy, then it's not so miserable going to work every day, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Darren, what brought you to the industry?
Well, to begin with, it's really hard for me to remember that long ago. About 38 years ago, I decided to do this. I grew up on a farm and always enjoyed taking things that didn't work and make them work. And I went to the technical school and got an associate's degree and started in the heavy truck business. And I enjoy helping people. And I always tell my guys to begin with, if they're in here to see us, they're usually not very happy because they got something that doesn't work and they want it to work. So they need to be helped. One of the things that I think is most important is that our guys, I have such a wide variety to add on to what Ted said about, accounts and everything. I've got guys that are certified to work on a ladder on a fire truck. And that's a different specialized training altogether. And then I've got a radio expert. This guy's a ham radio expert. He can program everything for the PD and the fire department, repair the radios. So that's a totally different skill set. And then I got other guys that work on small engines, and I got other guys that work on police cars and dump trucks. And so it's a very varied field. It's not, you know, when the old days when people said I'm a mechanic, everybody thought of the guy down on the corner that fixed cars. But it's, to begin with, you're not a mechanic anymore, you're a technician now. And you spend as much time on a PC trying to diagnose it as you do actually repairing it. So it's a lot more complicated than it used to be. And you need skilled training to be able to get the concepts that you need to understand to be able to repair the equipment we have today.
Absolutely. And how has technology changed that throughout the years?
As far as, oh Lord, when I started in this business, it was all mechanical. There wasn't even a computer in a truck. And today, everything is controlled by that. I mean, we currently have a supply chain problem in the industry because nobody can get semiconductors supplied to be able to control the HVAC system in that car. When before it was a cable that turned the valve that turned the hot water off and on in the truck to make heat. So, and now a computer runs it. So it's changed immensely. And then you had the addition of the emission changes in early 10,000s or 10,000, but 2010 and up, which dramatically changed this industry as far as diesel. Car business went through that about 10 years prior to that, but we went through it about 10 years ago. And so it used to be it took you 5 minutes to diagnose it and 2 hours to repair it. Now it takes 2 hours to diagnose it and 10 minutes to fix it.
Just a shift of time, I guess.
Yep.
What kind of, you guys have all had different paths, and what type of education or training? Teddy, tell me a little bit about what are you guys looking for in an entry-level position?
So first of all, we're looking for people that are inquisitive, that want to learn, that show up to work on time. That sounds like such a simple thing, but it's huge. Get here on time, stay till you're done. And okay, so that's the basic thing. That's the first thing that we need. But then people that have experience with diesel mechanics or people that have experience with welding, assembly, any type of, what do you call it? Facilities, type of training, maintenance type of stuff. Yeah, so we're looking for that basic education. We don't need a lot, but just somebody that has some stuff, and but most importantly is inquisitive and wants to continue growing and learning more.
Okay, so it sounds like problem solving takes a pretty big.
Absolutely.
Being a problem solver is a pretty big asset.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, and how would students out of high school get their hands on some of those certifications or some of that training that you mentioned?
Yeah, so there's several schools in the area. For example, Herndon. If they go through the Herndon program through high school, then they've got what I need to bring them in as an intern, and then maybe roll that into an apprenticeship. Or generally, we hire our interns for full-time employment. If they make it through the internship, then they're good. But there's lots of technical schools around Kansas City, and not just Kansas City, all over the country where you can get some basic welding and maintenance mechanic type of skills.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. And when you guys are looking at hiring new employees, John, what's a trait that you guys are really looking for? Or are there certain characteristics that you're looking for too? I know we said problem solving and being on time. Is there anything specific outside of that?
Well, I think Teddy put it very well, that inquisitive nature, kind of always wanting to learn and building it on top of the knowledge that you already have. So, I think a lot of it comes down to a work ethic that, they want to be there, they want to be on the job, they want to be using their hands, and if they're able to build on top of the knowledge that they just learned, because mechanics is such and being a technician relies so much on building on top of knowledge. because you can't learn it all at one time. That's really important.
Absolutely. We had some questions that came in advance from teachers and students, and I just wanted to touch on a few of them. All of these kind of about the work week, or both of these two about the work week. How many hours a week do you plan on, or should a student plan on working if they are in an entry-level position? And what kind of hours are they, as far as what types of shifts or what time of day? Darren, do you want to start?
Well, I mean, it's incredibly varied in this industry. You know, we work from 7 to 3:30. Unless we're in the middle of a snow event, then we work 24 hours a day, 2 12-hour shifts. It varies a lot. I mean, entry level, I would say you're going to be on day shift as a rule, just because they went with you with more experienced people, and there's usually the guys that are on the first shift. But you know, I've worked jobs that were 24 hours a day. You know, we had 3 shifts, and you were fixing stuff all night. So it is varied.
Okay. And when it comes to tools, we had a couple questions that came in advance as well about what types of tools should a student have, or should a prospective employee have when coming into the industry? Or does the shops typically provide them, or is that something they should start an investment on now? Teddy?
Yeah, so that's a good question. We have in the past hired people that brought their own tools in. I prefer not to do that. I would just assume buy the tools for people, and there's not as much confusion, tools getting mixed up between different mechanics or whatever. So yeah, I buy tools for my people whenever I hire them. That being said, if you're in this industry, you're probably going to need some stuff on your own anyways. You want to be practicing, you know, this isn't just a work thing, but practicing when you can. So you're going to want to have your own basic tools anyways, but not all employers, but I know a lot of, especially big manufacturing companies, you know, we're a $1.6 billion company. We buy the tools for our people.
Okay. Does that vary in either of your companies, John or Darren?
Yeah, it does. Most of our technicians would have a basic set of tools, and you know, they can start out with wrenches and sockets and build from there. We supply more tools that multiple technicians would use. They're a little more specialized based on the type of equipment we have. So some of the really expensive tools that may only get used occasionally that we have to have, we're typically supplying those. But a good basic set of tools is a good place to start. There are some tool manufacturers that will help with some of those expenses, financing and whatever. But I caution, you know, new technicians from getting too deep into a tool set, because they can be very costly. They just want to make sure that they're on the right career path before they invest too heavily in that.
That's
Yep. All right. Well, it
Hey,
sounds like
let me add something to that, Katie. There's a lot of opportunities when you're starting a new job, just coming out of school, working with a full employment council or workforce development. But there's a lot of opportunities for young people that are going into this industry. There's grant dollars available. So, for example, a lot of my incoming employees would qualify for $500 worth of free work boots or work clothing or tools. And I'm not saying everybody, but always investigate those options.
okay. Absolutely. And I'm assuming that there's certain tools that are transferable from, you know, if one job set to another, just getting, like you guys said, some of those really basic heavy duty quality tools too, that would maybe transition if you went from, you know, one company to another. There's some of those expectations, I guess.
I think kind of what John said. I mean, your wrenches, you want to have standard metric wrenches, standard metric sockets, good screwdrivers. I mean, a basic tool set. Anything else, John, Darren, that you would say they should have in a basic set?
Oh, pry bars and mallets and just some kind of general use stuff. But wrenches and sockets are the biggest thing.
A good multimeter.
Hmm.
That's
Yeah.
always anymore. That's a huge part.
And nowadays YouTube, have a YouTube app on your
Oh,
phone.
yeah.
Look it up when you don't know how.
You can fix anything with YouTube.
Yeah.
Some good how-tos. So one of the questions that was asked is, how long should they plan on working before venturing into opening their own shop? What is there kind of a rule of thumb, or what kind of experience do you think would be needed, or how long before venturing into something like that?
I guess that kind of depends on what type of repair they would like to do if they wanted to do it on their own. I mean, if you're doing small engine repair, you can pick that up in 3 or 4 years. Now you're doing heavy truck repair, it's probably 5 to 10 years. And I'm ballparking that, but it takes a while to get the experience. There's a lot of systems on this equipment.
Okay. Awesome. John, anything you want to add to that at all?
I would say that there's, as far as being a technician and trying to open up your own business, there's the technical side of it, which you probably can pick up in a few years, but there's a business side of it too that needs to be learned or experienced, or find a good business partner, because very rarely could you it's hard to be working on something and run a business at the same time. So some additional business classes, or having worked in an environment that you can pick up some of those business skills would be beneficial for someone.
It's a good point.
Okay. As students are enrolled in their day, and we actually just, for most districts, passed registration, or you're coming up on registration when you're thinking about classes. But what high school classes do you think would really be beneficial in kind of paving that way, if this is an industry that you want to go into? What would kind of be some of those bridge builders? Teddy, would you like to give some examples?
Yeah, sure. So starting with something like what you're doing, diesel tech or welding, and I know I sound like a broken record, but anything that you can get around those ahead of time. But then also, the basic stuff that people don't think is as important, like being able to read and write legibly, having I'm a sucker for punctuation. If an engineering student sends me a nice letter that's written well, then I'm going to give it a lot more attention than one that's not. And that's not always representative of the person. Unfortunately, I've got great mechanics that have and technicians that have very little arithmetic, writing, that kind of stuff. But the thing is, that will help you open doors. It helps you gain some confidence out of potential employers by presenting yourself well. Maybe even like a speech class, something where you're talking good to people. If you're going to interact with the public or even other people, those are all important things.
Absolutely. Do you see a strong emphasis in, things like math or science that have that big connection too?
I would say, and Darren and John they're probably more technicians than I am, but math is huge. When you are figuring out, we've built our business off of modifying existing trucks into other things and making trucks that nobody else will build. There's an incredible amount of math that goes into that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think it's instrumental. And then being able to process blueprints, or read work instructions and understand and comprehend it. That's all very important.
Absolutely. How can students get connected to your industry I know that through different programs, but if we were wanting to get connected through a specific company, is there a best way to do that? What's the best reach out way? Sorry, John.
Sure. I would say that that this is a very good place to get started. So through some technical schools who might have those connections to other industries, and let let kids know what might be available to them. Because I think that's one of the barriers, is that a lot of education has been driven to getting people into a 4-year college, and a lot of students are missing out on a lot of work opportunities that can provide on-the-job training, or that don't require maybe the same level of education or same time commitment as other industries. So building those connections like this. I'll also take just a moment to plug a trade scholarship that we've helped develop through Lee Summit Rotary Club, and those opportunities are out there for students, and if we can make those connections between the business community and the education community with counselors and stuff like that, we can maybe identify more students that are interested in this kind of path.
Absolutely. And do you feel like, excuse me, when it comes to pipeline and labor shortage, is that something that's a common problem, or is that something that you feel like has gotten better over the last few years?
It's always a issue for us. I would say that we're probably always on the lookout for a good technician, whether that's someone, with a lot of experience in their field, or even just starting out in that field. So there's a lot of opportunities out there, and a shortage of people that are wanting to get into that work.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
on that, yeah, there's a huge shortage. It's hard to get people. Here's the thing. So like COVID had started a year ago, we started sending people home. We stopped hiring all over the country. It's a huge thing. That didn't apply to technicians, because technicians bring in their salary on their first day of employment. As soon as they start repairing trucks, servicing trucks, building trucks, then they are making their salary that day. So we never have stopped hiring technicians through everything that's going on. And it's hard to find good people. And again, good people that want to show up to work on time and be inquisitive. It's a hard thing to find. But this is a good field for that. We have a huge shortage of technicians.
Okay, so the jobs are out there if they're interested. Perfect. One topic that came up a few different times throughout the pre-questions was just talking about salary and then hourly versus, talking about wages, I should say, and then hourly versus salary. Do you guys have a trend more so of hiring entry-level employees at an hourly wage? Is it typically a salary? Is there a reason for one or the other? What does that look like? Darren?
Well, it is varied across the industry. I mean, a government municipality like us, everyone's hourly. Now, dealership, if you worked at an automotive dealership, that's flat rate work. So you have X amount of time to complete that job. That's how much you get paid for it. And that's not true always, but there's a varied amount. And there is some salary jobs as well in the field. And it varies. Currently technicians are anywhere from entry level and then $18 an hour all the way up in the 30s, depending on experience.
Okay.
Per hour.
Absolutely. Teddy, what does that look like for you guys?
So most of our floor level positions, technicians, welders, whatever, those are hourly based. And we don't pay our folks by what the rate's supposed to, the shop rate, or how long it's supposed to do on each shop. We pay them by the actual time that they're there. Usually 40 to, rarely do we get up to 50 hours. But then the salaried side, so like somebody like me, I'm an HR director, I am a salaried position, but I also answer my phone on Sunday at 3 o'clock in the morning if I need to, whereas our hourly folks, as soon as they're off work, then they're off work for the weekend. So usually administrative or leadership in our company anyways, the leadership positions those are more the hourly managers, supervisors, whatever. Whereas the shop floor employees are at an hourly rate.
Okay, so probably more starting out at that hourly rate, but then as you build and grow within the company.
Or if you change departments, if you come off the floor into accounting or something, our accountants are salaried positions. But yes, most of the positions that that this audience will be applying for will be hourly positions, and then probably some salary too. If you're getting into engineering, things like that, those are salaried positions.
Okay. And what opportunities are there for upward mobility?
With custom truck,
Mhm.
so with us, there's all kinds of opportunities. I mean, we've got 40 locations across North America. So if you don't, for example, I'm meeting with a person tomorrow who is in a sales position, but she really wants to develop into a manufacturing role. So so we'll take people like that and look at what other options there are, especially if they're great employees, but they're getting stagnant in the role that they're in. Then what do you really want to do? What are you interested in? And so what type of skills can we help you gain while you're in your current role that could then develop you into a different role that you're wanting to get into? So yeah, like we said, we have people that come in and clean the toilets, and then we have, CEOs that are, or vice presidents that are, pulling in multiple six figures.
Absolutely. John, what does that look like for you guys?
So bringing somebody in, they could they could start out, assembling tractors or mowers or whatever, and work their way into a technician position. And from there, there's service writing, there's service management. So actually managing the workflow of the shop and interfacing with customers. So in more of a customer service role. So there are in just the service side of it, there are more than just service technicians available.
Okay. And Darren, for you guys?
I mean, there's technicians, there's supervision like me, there's my boss who's the fleet manager, who does everything from budget the fleet to purchase the fleet. So, there is mobility, there is place to move. I mean, I started out as a tech, I'm a supervisor. I mean, you can move up.
Got to put the time in and do the work.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Tell me, Darren, what do you love most about your job?
Helping people every day. People that come in here unhappy, and I make them be happy and go away.
Absolutely. John, what would you say?
Service, serving our customers. As far as a lot of our customers, they're other business owners. We're keeping them on the job and providing that service to them to keep them working and keep their livelihood and their businesses going, where they also employ other people. So in every aspect of our business, we feel like we're providing a service to others.
Absolutely. Teddy?
So yeah, all of that. I love what Darren said. I like to make people happy. That's a huge thing. Something that's really big with me is aha moments, when somebody realizes something. So for example, let's say you're looking on a spreadsheet to try to find a name out of 500 names, and then somebody comes by and says, oh, just hit Control F, and then you'll find it. So those little things, all of you have done that. You've worked, and then somebody came by in a second and said, oh, just do this. And you're like, holy moly, that's so aha moments. I love the seeing people have those aha moments.
Absolutely. I can definitely relate to that. That's one of the things I love being on here about most on campus, is getting to be able to see in the program whenever they have those moments of just, total clarity. Like it all makes sense, or seeing those skills that they come in with on day one and how they change throughout the school year. And when they walk out, carrying that first birdhouse that they made, or that small engine that they worked on, and letting them tell you about it. So I definitely get that. We had a question come in from the audience that says, how old do you have to be to work at your company? And do you hire high school students for the summer? Darren?
You have to be 18 to work here because it's a hazardous industry. To be on the shop floor. per se. And plus, being a municipality, we have a little bit different rules. But after 18 years old, I mean, there is intern possibilities.
Okay, absolutely. And do you work with students while they're in? I think a few years back, we had a student who was still in school, but 18 and was able
Yes.
to intern with the department.
Yep.
Is that something
We
you
have
guys
some,
do?
well, Tony, who works for us now, was an intern. Yep. He came through, I believe he came through your program.
I think so. Yep.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Good to know he's still there.
Yep. Still is.
Teddy, how does that work for you guys? How old do you have to be for the work to work for the company, and do you hire high school students for the summer?
So yes, I love hiring high school students for the summer. But to Darren's point, you have to be 18. And that for us just changed in the last few years. We used to really like to have interns in that were still 17 during their senior year. But yep, insurance and all that good stuff, they have to be 18 years old now. And then just to add to that, if they are 18 but still in high school, then we only allow 20 hours a week of work.
Okay.
And it's a prerequisite. I mean, your high school stuff comes first. You have to finish that before you worry about what we're doing.
Absolutely. And John, how's that work for you guys?
The same as what Teddy said. That 18 to work in the shop, and if someone were 18 and in high school, then I would consider them as an intern or a temporary basis. But school would come first.
Absolutely. Jumping back into some of those conversations we had about soft skills and just professionalism too. I think I've seen, each of you guys on interview panels before, but as you guys have worked with students on interviews and just practice mock interviews, is there any sort of advice you give students or anything that you take away from those that you'd like to pass on students as they prepare for applications and interview season coming up here soon?
So can I start? Because I have a huge one.
Absolutely.
And folks, write this down. If you're listening to this, write it down. STAR, the word STAR. You've probably heard of it. The STAR method of interviewing. So think about 10 different scenarios that you've been in. It doesn't have to be work. It could be high school. It could be with your siblings, whatever. Give me the situation that you were in, the S, the task that you had at hand, the actions that you took, and the results that you obtained. So that can be a couple of sentences. That can be a couple of paragraphs. You don't want to go on and on, but summarize it with those four things: STAR, situation, task, action, results. If you follow that path, you're going to be able to answer a lot of different questions with the same scenarios. But STAR, it's a big deal. I hate it when people come in and they just are bumbling all around with different things. It's a good way. And when you're talking to somebody that you haven't met before, especially you're a young person, you're meeting a professional in the industry, it can be somewhat intimidating, and your mind will often fail you. You have something great to say and you cannot remember what it was. So it's always okay to take notes into an interview, at least if you're interviewing with any company that I'm with, and I think that most of us feel the same way. Write down some scenarios. This is ridiculous. It feels really funny to do this, but look in a mirror and practice your answer. Practice it a couple of times, and then by the time you come and see me, you've already practiced it, and it'll be much better.
Absolutely. Anything else to add? That was great.
I would say to show an interest in that position also. Knowing a little bit about the company that you're interviewing with, and showing an interest in that position. Too often I get people that will come in and ask just to do anything, and that's great, but I want to see an interest, especially when we're talking about putting someone into a technician position.
Absolutely. Darren, any advice you'd give?
Well, dress for the job that you want. So, if you're looking to be a technician, no one expects you to come in here in a three-piece suit, but please dress appropriately. I'll put it that way. Because we seem to have a failing with that on a lot of people we interview. And it may be a silly thing, but it shows respect for yourself, respect for us, your organizational skills. I mean, it says quite a bit.
No, I completely agree. We did get asked, can you repeat STAR again? Can you repeat, Teddy, do you mind repeating?
Yeah,
that
yeah,
means?
that's no problem. It's STAR, situation, task, action, results. 4 things: situation, task, action, results. And then I just want to add to what Darren said: put your phone in your pocket or leave it in the car.
There you
Don't. And I realize that we use those in business now, but when you're interviewing, you don't need your phone with you.
Mhm.
So yeah, situation, task, action, results. If you Google it, STAR method of interviewing. I didn't make it up. It's a big thing.
No, that's all great advice. And I know that it's so instinctual just to grab that phone. So I'm glad you mentioned that too, because that is something that we get, I know at the Career Center, something that's told to us over and over again is that, you know, it's just such a small thing, but keeping that put away just shows that, like Darren said, that level of respect too.
Yeah.
We had asked, will you please define dress appropriately? Do you think that means nice jeans? Do you think that means more than just jeans?
No, I mean, for a technician position, sure, nice jeans, nice shirt. You know, don't have holes in your shirt, and holes in your pants, and you know, almost casual, business casual, I guess you would say.
All right,
So
John,
yeah, if
is that
somebody's
very for
coming-
you guys?
say it
Yeah,
again.
I think the main thing is the look like you put in a little bit of effort, you know,
Yeah.
that
Good way
you
to-
prepared a little bit for the interview, tuck in your shirt and maybe just a little nicer than what you wear normally.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Those are great questions. If you've got any additional ones, please feel free to throw them in. One of my favorite questions that I like to ask you guys as we're kind of rounding out our session, but John, we'll start with you. Tell me one thing that you wish you knew in high school versus now as a working adult.
Well, that could probably be a long list. I want to say probably the importance of each role in a company and how that plays into the overall goals and being a team player. So every role we have is important. Otherwise, we wouldn't have them on the team. And knowing where everybody fits and how they can contribute. And you know, if probably had one thing to do, I probably have asked more questions when I was in different positions to learn more and more than I could, and just express that thirst for knowledge.
Absolutely. It's such great advice. And just knowing, you know, learning all you can from each of those positions. I agree. Teddy, what would you say? Best advice you could give or that you wish you knew in high school versus now as a working adult?
Well, I think what John said. I mean, being inquisitive, and John mentioned earlier that having, before you go into an interview, to do some research on the company, that's a huge thing. But to show how inquisitive you are, how you want to learn more, and I would say that that's probably the biggest one for me. Is don't be shy when you're getting there. When you're getting into a position, you want to learn stuff. You know, we often think that a question is stupid, and remember that questions aren't stupid. Now, if you're asking the same question over and over, or you know, that's a different story. But don't be afraid to ask questions and find somebody that doesn't mind answering your questions, and then yeah, ask away. Be inquisitive.
Okay. Darren?
Well, as being one who's in the twilight of his career, I hope, you know, 2 things. When I was 18 years old, I thought I was 10 feet tall and bulletproof too. And you know, when you're looking at a job, well, it's this much an hour. Well, yeah, but do they have insurance? You know, do they have a retirement plan? Do they have those things? Because it doesn't really mean a lot to you when you're 18 years old, but when you're 50 years old, it means a lot, because that's when you start thinking about those things. That's coming up pretty quick. So just pay attention to them, because they're actually more important today than they were years ago. You know, because of the cost of healthcare and it's expensive.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and start saving money at the beginning of your career.
Yes.
Start putting it away now when you're just out of high school. Don't wait until you're 25 or you can afford it. Start doing it now.
If it's $100 a month, throw it in the bank account. Throw it in your 401k.
It'll build.
It'll build.
Absolutely. Have you guys seen a major shift or throughout the years of starting your career to where you are now, and how important that work-life balance is? Teddy, would you like to speak on that at all?
Yeah. So, man, if you're not maintaining, that's a huge thing for me. And I've struggled with it over the years. I've worked jobs where I was doing 80 hours a week for a while at Harley, and then jobs that weren't very demanding. But you have, and we really try to get this across to our employees. You've got to take care of your mental health and make sure that your loved ones are in a good place mentally, because you're not going to be worth a lot as an employee if you're bringing a lot of baggage in. So that work-life balance is huge. Now, I'm not saying you can come in to work, at Custom Truck, say, well, I really need to do 35 hours to get. No, that's not how it works. But so plan on spending your time there, but it is important that you decompress and that your work doesn't dictate everything that you do in your life. One of my owners, and I've got a very unique set of, actually now they're just major stockholders, but just a couple of weeks ago, he started a manager's meeting. We had something happen, started a manager's meeting with, your families are the most important thing. This place is second. Keep that in mind. And it sounds like a wonderful thing to say. We still have a business to run, but that work-life balance is huge. I've seen a lot of jobs, union jobs, where, man, you can make six figures, but you're putting in, with very little education, six figures, but you're putting in 100 hours a week, and nothing good comes from that.
Anything you'd like to add, Don or Darren or John?
I would say, take care of yourself, both physically and mentally. Work hard for the hours that you're putting in, but certainly we want that work-life balance where we're not overworking when we're there, but while we're at work, we want to be focused on our job and leaving the personal life at home or whatever, but also communicating with your employers too, to let them know what's going on. Because I think that's important. Me as an employer, I need to know if someone's not 100% that day, if they're not feeling well, something like that, and how we can do to help. Because what we all need is we need all of the people on our team, there at 100% for those 8 hours or whatever we're there, and then go get rest and come back.
Absolutely, it plays such a huge role in safety too. So.
That was actually the point I was going to make. When you're here, we want 100%, but I want you attentive, because I don't want anybody going home hurt. I want you to go home to your family. If you're not paying attention, you could not go home, because it's called a hazardous occupation, because you can get hurt. So come here, work hard, go home, play, and rest hard.
Great advice. Our last question is, what is your best advice in choosing a career? In that long-term career, best advice for choosing a career. John, you want to start?
Sure. It's going to sound cliche, but find that thing that you like to do. Be sure whatever it is, it may not be the thing that you most like to do, or it may not be your passion, but if you can find that, great. But certainly find something that you enjoy doing, because it'll make work that much easier.
That sounds great. Darren?
Well, I'm not going to, I like what I do. I've always liked what I do. But there's days that it's not a lot of fun. I mean, you're going to go through things that this is not a good time changing out this AC compressor on this Ford Explorer. But at the end of the day, you have to have enjoyment and satisfaction of completion and accomplishment. So learn that as well.
Absolutely.
There's joy in that.
Absolutely.
That's great advice, Darren. regardless of what you do, you're going to have bad days.
Sure.
You're going to have times when you're feeling burnout or this and that. And so to John's point, do what if you can find something that you enjoy doing, and then you can make money doing it. Now, there's a lot of things I enjoy doing but I can't make money doing that. So be realistic, but think about your hobbies, your pastimes. What do you like to do when you don't have to do anything? And then, how can I make a living off of doing that? So it's always important. Try to enjoy what you're doing and seek it out. It's out there.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. I want to thank all of our attendees for being with us today too. If you've got any last minute Q&As, feel free to toss them out there. But again, these sessions are going to be recorded and they will be on the website where you registered. So you can go back and view them again if you'd like. But again, I want to thank John, Darren, and Teddy for being with us today. We really appreciate your support and know that we can't put these things on and give that valuable information and advice without your guys' help. So thank you again, and thank you for joining us. Hope everybody has a great day.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Mhm.